and welcome to another episode of Some of Our Parts, the podcast where two friends talk about the movies that add up to make us who we are. I'm Lindsay,
And I'm Jim.
and this week Jim picked our movie. So, Jim, tell us what you had us watch.
This is a movie that I really enjoyed when it first came out for several reasons. But so back to personal, back when I was going to college, I briefly entertained the thought of going to law school, becoming an attorney. And then I found out I didn't have the grades to go to law school from my guidance counselor. But anyway, so that being said, fast forward a few years after I got out of school and then started working. But so this movie came out in 1982, and it's The Verdict with one of my favorites, Paul Newman, and there's a really good supporting cast in this as well, a couple of older actors and so on, but of that ilk. But and I really enjoyed this because it showed, I think, both sides of the law. We talk about, like how the rich can afford, good law or good justice gets justice, and the poor
Hmm.
don't sometimes. And I think this was one of the first movies that I saw that kind of reinforced that. This and To Kill a Mockingbird. So, which
Hmm.
we'd talked about. So,
Yes.
so that's what I picked. So, had you ever seen this movie?
No, I'd never heard of it, I don't
Oh,
think.
okay.
Maybe I had heard of it, but I definitely had never seen it. No.
Okay. So, and also we don't get the 70s fashion thing, but we do get the 80s hairstyles for older men, which was not a good look
No.
with the
No.
hair covering the ears and stuff,
Yeah,
like
I'm like not a fan
yeah.
um
So, but
of that.
anyways, yeah,
The the
the
judge,
judge.
it made him look like the what's the guy's name? The child snatcher from Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
I know, but I can't think of the name of the character.
Yeah, but you know what I'm
Yeah,
talking about, whatever he's
yeah,
called.
exactly. Yeah. So, not so much Paul or Jack Warden, who plays another attorney, or James Mason, but you do kind of see a little bit of the fashion of the decade, I think. So, but
Hmm.
anyway, so yeah, so The Verdict from 1982, which was did very well, I
Hmm.
believe, not only critically but also at the box office. But I
Yes.
just really enjoy it. This, and it's not on TV very often, and
Hmm.
but when it is, I always like to watch it, particularly at the end in the courtroom, the
Hmm.
final, during the trial. So,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
anyway, so yeah, for no particular reason other than the fact I think we were talking about attorneys, or you and I, and then someone had mentioned Paul Newman, and it just sort of all jumbled together, and it sort of poof, appeared. So I thought it was on my list, and it's one that I wanted to get out there. So,
Perfect. Perfect. Yeah, I mean, always like a courtroom type drama because there is a lot of like I think sometimes courtroom stuff we were talking about can be like kind of boring, but I do think that like when you have this sort of like powerful interests versus like a regular person, it does become this sort of like David and Goliath thing because there's so much that they can influence and like witnesses and who they can call and paying people off and like da 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 da. So there is a lot that can happen there. So yeah, I thought it was interesting. I enjoyed watching it. And I think Paul Newman is really good in this too.
mhm.
I felt that
um,
he played a nicely complex character. And
and and
always
I
nice
know
to hear
you
James
like
Mason.
criminal. I know you like criminal shows and stuff, like
Hmm.
like Law and Order. You and I are both big fans of
Yeah.
all the Law and Order franchises. So, and then this bringing, seeing it on TV every week and stuff.
Hmm.
I always like the both aspects, the police and the legal system. But
Hmm.
this one, I think it showed more like how they built the case, and how they got things together, and the differences between the prosecuting attorney and the
Yeah,
defense.
and a civil case versus a criminal.
Right, exactly. And then what resources were available, and we'll talk about that.
Hmm.
What the differences in who's got the bigger budget.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And I do think sometimes like I think the criminal case type legal dramas are like very exciting in certain ways, but there are good like civil ones, right? Like we were just talking before we started recording, Aaron Brockovich.
Mm.
That's a civil case surrounding that. But it is again a sort of like regular people versus big, powerful, moneyed interests. And so I think there is just naturally a like good narrative arc there, right? Because you're rooting for these regular people to sort of get something from this big, like evil, the big bad that is harming them. It's just like in a different way than, say, in like a superhero movie or something, you know?
Well, we used to talk about, and people still do about big pharma, big tobacco.
Hmm.
Those were, the big ones.
But
So,
yeah, so I think that, yeah, no, I thought that this was really interesting and yeah, I enjoyed it. It was cool. I think the only thing I didn't love about it, I didn't like Charlotte Rampling's character. Like, I don't know, there was just like not much to her. And then it was just like, oh,
yeah,
even like her ending, I didn't like the last like shot of her. I was like, oh, so she's just like pathetic.
and I read a little bit. I think they were fooling around with different endings too about how that should resolve, and I don't know if they actually got the best one. I don't know. I'm not an expert to say, but there were several couple of variations on what would happen at the end of that. But yeah, you're right. It was pretty unsympathetic character all the way around. I mean, it was kind of a good ending, but a bittersweet one, I guess, is the way I would describe it.
Yeah.
Where, yeah, the things turn out the way kind of the way you hope they did, but maybe not for everybody.
Hmm. Yeah. 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 Well, we'll get into it when we get into the movie.
Yeah,
So this movie is based on a book. The book came out in 1980 by the author Barry Reed, and it was of the same name. And I think largely like the same story. Interestingly, you can see that it must have been a popular book because it came out in 1980 and this movie was out in 1982. So this was his first published work, this author, Barry Reed, who was a lawyer after being in the army. The movie industry, according to his Wikipedia, the movie industry took immediate notice of the verdict. So producers acquired the rights. A number of actors expressed interest in playing the lead, which we'll talk about. And a bunch of different writers tried to adapt the novel. The producers eventually settled on David Mamet's screenplay, and then the movie came out, and it was the book was a bestseller. The movie, like Jim said, was a critical and commercial success. And he actually wrote a sequel to the novel that brought back Frank Galvin called The Choice that came out in 1991. So,
did not know that.
yeah.
I might have to peruse it. And I will say in this instance, I did not read the book
Hmm.
either before or after I saw the movie. So, uh,
But yeah, so it started as a book. And then, as I said, David Mamet wrote the screenplay. David Mamet is a prolific playwright. He's written a lot of screenplays of movies, including adapting some of his plays into movies. He's directed films also. He's the dad of Zosha Mamet, who's an actress from, I know her most from Girls, but he wrote and or directed House of Games, Homicide, Heist, The Spanish Prisoner, The Postman Always Rings Twice, The Untouchables, Wag the Dog, Hannibal, Glengarry Glen Ross, etc. Glengarry
well,
Glen Ross is one that he wrote the play and then he wrote the screenplay for the movie.
okay. I was going to say, and there's a couple of those, and those titles we'll share with our audience later on. So that are
Nice.
on my list.
Nice. So, yeah. And then the director of this film is Sidney Lumet, who's, I think, another pretty like well-known prolific director. He also started in theater and then television and then movies. He has been nominated for Best Director 5 times. One of this movie is one of them. Other ones were 12 Angry Men, so another like legal drama, Dog Day Afternoon, Network, and he was nominated for Best Adapted Screenplay for Prince of the City. His other movies: A View from the Bridge, Long Day's Journey into Night, The Pawnbroker, Failsafe, The Hill, Serpico, Murder on the Orient Express, the 1974 version, Equus, The Wiz. I've seen The Wiz. The Morning After, Running on Empty, and Before the Devil Knows You're Dead. And he died in 2011,
How old was he? Does it say in your?
86.
Oh, okay, so he was up there. I know he'd because 12 Angry Men came out in the 50s, I believe.
Yeah, he was born in 1924.
Oh, okay, yeah. So
So yeah, he was in his 30s then.
good body of work
Yeah,
when
yeah,
you think about it. I mean, and a couple of diverse. You wouldn't think of the same guy that directed 12 Angry Men in this movie directed The Wiz.
exactly. Yeah, I was thinking that when I read, I was like, oh, huh, who knew?
Yeah. So
But that's
what do you
cool.
ask him? Like, who'd you like working with better, Paul Newman, Henry Fonda, or Michael Jackson?
Diana Ross.
And and the correct answer is Diana Ross. So that's the A answer.
Richard Pryor. But yeah, so that's who made the movie, as Jib said. It was a commercial and critical success. It was nominated for 5 Oscars. Best Director, as I mentioned. It was nominated also for Best Picture, Best Actor, Best Supporting Actor, and Best Adapted Screenplay. We already looked. Most of those awards were won by people from the movie Gandhi, which came out in the same year. So it was they had stiff competition. Gandhi and Tootsie also came out, and E.T. also came out in the same year. So
It was a good year for movies.
oh yeah, but yeah. So the verdict came out in a good year, but a stacked year at the
Mm-hmm.
Oscars. So it
Yep.
didn't win any of those, but was nominated for many.
But
So
I don't think it lost to lesser movies or to lesser people either, though. So
hmm,
I think, like I said, it was one of those the perfect storm years. It was like 1939, Gone with the Wind, and um,
Wizard of Oz.
yep, what was the Philadelphia Story,
Mm,
Stagecoach. There was a bunch of them that came out that year, so it was like the golden one of the golden years. So
yeah.
all the stars were in alignment in 1982.
Hmm. Yeah, and we love that. Better for
Yeah,
us as people who like to watch movies.
yeah. You don't like to see like a bunch of like blase movies or you know also
Right.
rans
Bunch of duds.
right, like, well, you pick the lesser of two evils,
Hmm.
instead of like, boy, they're all so good, how do I
Right.
choose? Yeah.
Yes. Yes. We want the voting for all the movies to be enthusiastic and not like, well, I guess.
Yeah, well, or we owe this one,
Hmm.
we've passed over them, so many times, and there's really no big standout performance this year, so let's just give it to them.
Exactly. Exactly. Well, should we talk about the movie?
Let's go to the courtroom.
Okay.
Well, actually, we'll start in Frank's office, or
Yes.
his.
Frank's office, meaning the bar. So the movie opens with our main character, attorney Frank Galvin, is in a bar playing pinball and drinking during the day. And I did notice a Saturday Night Fever pinball, so shout out to another movie that we've talked about. And there's actually an actor from this movie that was in Saturday Night Fever also. So connections. See, they all tie in.
Hmm.
But he's playing pinball and drinking. We see him next go to another place and he pays somebody cash to get in and then also does some breath spray to cover the smell of beer on his breath. And he goes into a funeral. And this guy that he paid like introduces him to the widow, like, oh, this is my good friend, Frank Galvin. He's an attorney. So basically, then it's like he's, it's just like a series of him going to funerals to try to like acting like he's a friend of someone to try to represent people because at this point he's what they call in the biz an ambulance chaser. So he's just looking for like personal injury malpractice cases. So like the lawyers that you see on TV telling you to call them, he's one of those.
This is how it's done on the cheap. You go around to funerals and sort of like ingratiate yourself into the poor family or grieving family. So
Mm-hmm. Oh my God, like the first funeral he goes to, this woman is so devastated. He hands her a card and she just kind of like lets it fall out of her hand. Like there's just like no reaction. You can tell this woman's like devastated by the loss of her husband and he's trying to take advantage of her. And finally, like he goes to one and it's like this younger guy whose father died. And he's like, "Oh, I was a friend of your father." And he's like, "No, you're not. Like you don't know my father. Get out."
yeah, he calls him out like right in the middle of the funeral and or
Hmm.
right in the middle of the
The
whatever
wake or
the
whatever.
wake, yeah, and then I guess the funeral parlor director or the funeral director hustles him out of there, and
Hmm.
um,
Yeah, he's like, "Don't ever come back."
don't ever darken my door.
Hmm.
He's down on his luck. You can tell he's pretty desperate.
Yeah. So what does he do? Back to the bar. And he's, sort of holding court, telling stories, entertaining people. Then it's like back home, he's drunk, bent over the sink. He's in his office. He busts up his, I guess, law school diploma. The glass cuts him. And then he's just slumped down on the floor like the next morning when his friend Mickey, who's also an attorney, his like mentor kind of, comes to see him. And he's like, what is wrong with you? Like he's gotten him some clients, so he's like, you need to get yourself together. Like get
Right,
up.
yeah,
Wash your
because he looks,
face.
yeah, it looks like a tornado hit the office because
Hmm.
he's tipped over filing cabinets and busted furniture and in a drunken stupor now. So,
Yeah. And he's like slumped on the floor, like looking half dead. But Mickey's gotten him some clients and there's a case. He got him an expert doctor to talk to him. Court's in 2 weeks. But you can tell that Mickey, I wrote here, he seems kind of at his wit's end with Frank. Like he's like, I've been trying to help you, man, but like you gotta get it together.
right, like I got you a good case. It's good to put some money in your pocket. You haven't even met with the client,
Hmm.
or talked to him, and he's what he's you're going to trial in 10 days or something like that.
Mm.
Like the clock's ticking, Frank, and you're just, you just, sort of been, lollygagging.
Right. And it's like I also even like set up everything for you. You don't even have to find an expert witness. I already found you one. Like I'm putting this on a platter for you. You gotta you
Yeah, but
gotta step it up.
you gotta at least show up, or at least, try, make an
Yeah.
effort.
Yeah. Frank does eventually get up and he writes a note. He types up a note that he's going to have lunch with a judge and puts it on his door. He does not go to have lunch with a judge. He goes back to the bar to play pinball. Um,
Well, he does get breakfast or some
oh,
sort of
he eats.
sustenance.
He eats. Yeah.
Yeah, he drops a raw egg into his beer,
Yeah. Delicious.
which, by the way, I saw my grandfather do many a day
Oh, is that like a
at
hair of the
at the
dog kind of
bar.
thing?
Sort of, kinda. It's like how you get your protein because you don't really want to eat. Yeah, yeah,
Yum. Like
yeah.
Gaston.
Never, yeah. I never got to that point where I had to drop a raw egg in my beer. So,
That's probably good. That's probably good. Anyways, so Frank is at the bar. He does then go to this like hospital ward and presumably to like see his client. And he does plop himself down near this bed of a woman who's just like laying there, like
but
unconscious.
if she's in like the fetal position and she's on a
Hmm.
really old ventilator.
Yeah,
It's sad though, isn't it? I mean,
it is. That
it's
whole
like
little room. Yeah.
she's not the only patient in this room, and it's the old metal hospital beds. If anybody's
Hmm.
familiar with that, like from the 50s or the 60s,
Yeah, it doesn't look like the nicest place. And it's like full. Like it's not like three people in the room. It's got to be
Mhm.
like 10
Oh,
patients. It's like three rows of beds because he sits on one of the beds and then a guy comes up in a wheelchair and he's like, "Sir, excuse me, sir." And
yeah,
he
you're in my
moves because he
bed.
was on the guy's bed. But yeah, so it's not a lovely pace. But Frank is there. He does pull out a legal pad and start taking notes. So it's like, okay, okay, we're lawyering, we're doing work.
Mm-hmm.
Then he's going back to his office and puts in a ton of eye drops, by the way.
Wouldn't you? I want to know how he affords to drink, buy breath spray, and eye drops because that
Mm-hmm.
seems to be the only things that he spends money on. So
Yeah.
that and paying off funeral directors to get into funerals. So
Right, right. It's like he must have had like a couple of something and he just
I guess, yeah, it's got some sort of dividend coming in, maybe some residuals of something. So
yeah. Um so he goes back to his office and there's a woman there waiting for him. And we learn that this is the sister of the woman in bed. Her name's Deborah, the woman in bed, and her sister's name is Sally Donahue. Also this all takes place in like the Boston area, so it's the most Irish names you've ever heard. Sally Donahue.
mhm.
There are people that literally just have Irish accents. I was like, is that how it still is in Boston? We got more fresh off the boat Irish people here.
That's right. Everybody
Um,
grew up in Dublin and came over on the boat. So
yes. So anyway, Sally, this sister, he tells her it's a good case. Basically, what happened to the woman that we saw in the bed, Deborah, is that she went to the hospital to deliver a baby and they gave her like the wrong anesthetic and she vomited and aspirated on her vomit and like uh basically she her heart stopped, she stopped breathing, it denied oxygen to her brain and she's been in a coma ever since. And it's been like
three,
years at this point.
I think 3 years or 4 years,
Yeah, something like that because it was in like it took place in like the late 70s and this
like
is the early 80s.
76. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
something like that. So it's been a few years that she's been in this coma. And really they just like are like it's expensive to care for her because like this the coma woman's husband that left and took their kids. So it's like the sister and her husband are the only people taking care of her. It's expensive. They want to put her in like a care home so that they can move, but it's like $50,000 or something like that, which is like these are like regular people. They don't have $50,000.
right,
So really they just want
he's a working guy, just a
yeah.
regular, yeah, whatever he does. Probably works on the docks or something. So
Yeah. Like they truly just want to like be able to get her good care so that like they don't have to be solely responsible for it. That's all they want like payment for. They're not looking to like make a buck. They just want her taken care of.
right.
But yeah, because I think her husband has like a job opportunity elsewhere. Like they're
Yeah,
trying to
out of
move.
state. Like,
Yeah.
is it Cleveland? Is it something like that?
I don't remember, but he wants to leave. And they're like, "Oh, how much will it cost to pay you to be the lawyer?" And he's like, "Oh, I won't. It doesn't cost you anything now." Like he just takes a third of the settlement because he's like, "We're going to settle. This is not going to go to trial. Like the church doesn't want to go to trial." Because the hospital that they're suing is a Catholic hospital. It's run by the Archdiocese of Boston. It made me think I was like the Archdiocese of Boston is a villain in like many movies. Like if you've ever watched Spotlight, I was like, "Oh, they're the bad guys everywhere." Not a great reputation, the Archdiocese of Boston. Also, just to be clear, this woman aspirating on her vomit while under anesthesia, that's why you can't eat before surgery, everybody.
Because it can happen. So
Yes. Yes. So we cut over to the Archdiocese. So there's a bishop. It's Bishop Brophy. He is talking to um, this guy that works for him, Joseph Alito. He's like, I think he works for like the insurance company or something that represents the hospital. And he's telling the bishop about Frank. Um, Basically, he had a great legal education. He worked for this high-powered firm, but then he resigned after he was indicted for jury tampering. He was not convicted. He's had 4 cases in the past 3 years. He's lost them all. He drinks. He's an ambulance chaser. So Frank's reputation precedes him.
Wife left him, divorced.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes, that too.
he's a what is he a three-time loser? What'd you say? Almost got disbarred.
Yeah.
Didn't get convicted. Wife left him, and then he's lost his practice. So
Yeah.
basically,
He's not
yeah,
doing well.
yeah. And he's a one-man shop. He doesn't have anybody really helping him at this point, other than
Yeah.
Mickey.
Mickey. The bishop is like, I don't want to go to court because it reflects poorly on like the reputation of the archdiocese, basically. But this Frank Alito guy is like, we should call his bluff, or this Joseph Alito. I almost called him Sam Alito, like the Supreme Court justice.
I was getting ready to say,
Joseph Alito, he says, I think we should call his bluff because he doesn't want to go to court because he'll lose if he goes to court. The bishop is like, I'll make an offer myself.
yeah, like he'll do it, not through the law firm or the insurance company, but he wants to talk to him
Yes. Yes.
in his
So,
funny little hat.
yes, the funny little lots of funny headwear in the Catholic Church at all levels. You can watch Conclave for more of that. You can see all the different cardinal outfits. So, Frank then goes to meet the medical expert that Mickey set up. His name's Dr. Gruber. He's at another whatever, like Mass General or something. And Dr. Gruber, he meets him in the locker room for the doctors. He puts on his fur-trimmed coat and lights his cigar. It's like, oh, the days of smoking cigars in a hospital. Gotta love it. And then he's like, no, for sure, those doctors killed that woman. They gave her the wrong anesthetic. She drowned in her own vomit.
And her baby. So
Yeah,
because
and her
the
baby.
baby was lost as well. So
Yes,
yeah,
yes. And the doctor's like, no, those doctors are bad. I will testify. This should go to trial.
yep.
Like,
You got a solid case. I know what
mm-hmm.
I'm doing.
And Frank is like, oh, well, this is like up against the Catholic Church, it's the archdiocese. And he's kind of like, okay, anyways, like, this is just like right from wrong. And then they will meet Tuesday evening to go over his testimony, like take his deposition. And then Frank is like, Frank, he kind of is like, it's like walk and talk. The guy's walking to his car and
Yeah, he
Frank is
says
talking to
walk
him.
with me because
Yeah,
I'm going home, I guess,
yeah.
or whatever.
And Frank is like, why are you doing this? And the doctor's like, to do the right thing. Isn't that why you're doing it? And it's like, no, that's not why he's doing it at all.
By the
But
way,
that
the
is a
doctor drives off in a Jaguar.
yes. He doesn't need the money. He's
Yes,
set. It's easy to do the right thing when your material needs are met.
exactly.
But yeah, Frank, he's not doing it for that reason. But this, I think this question is sort of a central theme of the
Mm-hmm.
movie, which is why I wrote it down specifically. But Frank is very excited that this guy's because it's like, okay, slam dunk.
Looks
I
like
have a doctor, a well-respected doctor who's like the chief of anesthesiology at this other big hospital, who's
mm-hmm.
like, period, point blank, they messed up, they killed her.
Yep.
Boom. Great. And he's like totally game to testify. So it's like Frank's like, what an embarrassment of riches. Like he literally like celebrates after the doctor drives away.
He's like jumping up and down like a little kid, like
Mhm.
it's great. He's seeing dollar signs
Exactly. And he's having a good day. So where does he go? The bar. Duh. And when he's there, he sees this woman who's looking at the classifieds for uh, an apartment. And but he's, doing his normal regaling people with stories, and she's getting up to leave. And as she leaves, she says, "I'm glad you had a good day," and leaves.
in a very breathy voice.
Yeah, I'm glad you had a good day. Frank continues to actually do work though. He goes back to the hospital to take pictures of Deborah, the victim who's in the coma. Um, The
By
nurses
the
come
way,
by.
have you ever seen this type of camera before?
A Polaroid?
The old Polaroid. I didn't know if they were around when you were young. You
Yeah,
know,
they didn't look quite exactly the same, but it was a similar
yeah. Where they folded up though, that was the
mhm.
big thing, and then they had the flash bar.
Yeah, the ones when I was a kid, it's just like the flash thing folded up.
Yeah, yeah. But this
Hmm.
one, yeah, the whole thing, yeah, was
Yeah,
like,
it
yeah.
didn't I didn't have one of those
I
that with the whole
remember
thing folded up, but just like the flash part folded down, like
folded
in the
up. Yeah,
90s. Yeah.
yeah. So yeah.
Yeah. So he's taking pictures of her with his Polaroid, and then nurses come by and see he can't be there. But he's kind of like, it's interesting. He's like sitting there, he's kind of like in a daze. Like it's like now that he's really looking at her, he's like, "Oh wow. This is like a young woman whose like life is ended, basically."
It was in the prime of her life, expecting
Hmm.
the third child, happily married, two other children, and then
Hmm.
yeah, now, yeah, he's kind of looking at it, and I like how he sits there, and then like when he tells the nurse, he goes, "I'm her lawyer." It's
Hmm.
like it's like it suddenly dawned on him this is more than just a money case.
Yeah. Yeah, like you can see
Didn't you
it.
think? Yeah, that
Uh-huh.
he's maybe has a touch of conscience.
Yeah, his little like Jiminy Cricket came and was like, "Hey, that's
Frank,
a person."
do the right thing.
Yes. That's a person, not a paycheck. So he goes, sort of with that epiphany, he goes to meet with the bishop. And the archdiocese offers 210,000 as a settlement, which the Wikipedia page helpfully tells you is about 576,000 in 2024 money.
Oh,
And he gets a third of it, so he would get 70,000, which I'm sure is also very good. But
yeah, for
because they
1982. I wonder how much 70,000 in 1982 would mean today in 2026 money. What
let's see.
would that set him up?
Then in 2026 it would be 224,000 $242,244.97.
That's not too shabby.
No, for one
Yeah,
case,
yeah,
that's more
yeah,
than most people make in a year.
that's true. Yeah.
So you'd be
So,
set. And think of how much pinball he could play.
yeah. Or
So,
how many eggs in his beer he can have. So,
yeah. But they came to this number because I think he asked, like, how'd you come to this number? And they thought it was just. And he's kind of like, but no one will know the truth of what
right.
happened. And they're like, well, no. And I wrote, he seems to care about her because he says she has no life. But like, if we take this, then the people who are supposed to care about her have been bought off to look the other way. And he says, I came to take your money, but now I can't do it because I will be lost. I'll truly be like just an ambulance chaser. And like, I can't do that. So like, he's found some moral center.
And remember earlier, just a little bit earlier, he was doodling on his pad and he'd written down some numbers like 200,000, 250,000, and then so I mean they're right in that, I guess, where he was hoping it would be.
Hmm.
So they've met that, but he also said, he goes, it struck me how neatly that divides into three, or three
Hmm.
divides into $210,000. So
Yeah.
like they thought, oh well, he knows automatically how much exactly he's going to get out of the settlement. So
Right. And the settlement clearly, I think that that makes it clear to him that this was directed at him. Like, this isn't for this woman and her family. It's to get him to drop it.
yeah,
And
to
yeah.
get rid of the family, and and but still seem, I mean, it's not like a, I guess maybe at the time a lowball offer, but it's not nearly, like he said, it won't make up for what's happened to this poor woman and her
Hmm.
sister and her brother-in-law.
Yeah. Yeah. So he rejects the offer and they ask him, they're like, how are things going for you, Frank? How's your law practice? And he's like, it's not great. I only have the one client. But
He's not, yeah, he doesn't try to put on airs like, like, oh, hey, I'm doing fabulous, because I guess he figures they know,
hmm.
right?
Yeah, there's no point in lying, but
Right. Yeah.
still not taking your bribe, basically.
Right. Your blood money.
Hmm. So, although one problem here, it's very noble that he did that. And we don't know this for sure until later, but so one thing you're supposed to do if you're representing someone is to tell them about settlement offers. And he doesn't do that.
I thought about that too. I thought the
That's like
least he could
unethical.
say is like, you could take it to your client, and say, well, this is what they offered.
Hmm.
But I guess maybe Frank probably knew their situation that they would jump at it, that they would say, oh, yeah, let's take the offer. And,
Yeah.
uh,
And just be done with it. But I think he knows that they deserve more,
right.
is where he's coming from. So, noble intentions, but certainly like not how you're supposed to go about it. But anyways, he does tell Mickey that he rejected the settlement offer, and Mickey is like, "What are you doing?
Like,
What is wrong with you? Why would you
he-
do that?"
he's like dumbfounded. He goes, you're an idiot. It's like,
Yeah, like you were set up like for
yeah.
success, and you're like, no, let me make it harder for myself." So, yeah, Mickey's like, "What is wrong with you? I brought you this case to get you a settlement, and their lawyer will destroy you."
I like how he says, do you know who their lawyer is? He goes, he's the Prince of fucking Darkness.
Yes. Um, and but he's like, "Hey, Mickey, will you help me?" And Mickey's kind of like, "Fine." And then we meet the Prince of Darkness, the Concanon, Ed Concanon, the Archdiocese attorney, who has a full like meeting room, long table of like associates, clerks, like paralegals, law students, whatever, all working on this case with him.
I mean, it looks like a meeting of the Knights of the Round Table or
Right?
something, or doesn't it? Or a boardroom. There's got to be at least 12 people in this room.
And they have like a whole strategy, right? Like they're gonna do research on everybody involved. They're gonna find, who are their witnesses, get information about them, and we need to put out information in the newspapers, on TV, like about how great this hospital is, and da 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 da.
Yeah, about articles in the Globe or whatever, and then TV ads about, and what's going to be on the local news,
Hmm.
let's bombard the media with how great this hospital is and what it does for its patients.
Yeah. And it's James Mason, so I wish that I could do like a great he's like, sorry. He's like, "We're going to get all of these things on the local news and in the Globe." Da, 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 da. That's my best. I don't have a James Mason. I haven't watched enough James Mason, but that's
It's hard
basically
to
what he
do.
sounds like. Yeah. Bill Hader does a good James Mason.
He
So
does also
look
a
up
very good Vincent Price.
he does like all of them. So look up Bill Hader's James Mason. He does a really funny thing where it's like James Mason calling about an expired coupon or something. "I want to use it." Like,
He sounds
I got,
very, very posh, I guess, is what
yes.
or James Mason does.
Yes. Because I feel like the posher British people, it sounds like they don't move their mouth when they talk.
Oh, oh,
You know
oh.
what I mean? Like
Yeah,
he's like,
yeah.
"What are you doing?" Like they
Yeah,
move their mouths like the royals. They move their
yeah,
mouth.
yeah,
They
very
move
little.
their mouths less. It's like, "I'm so posh I can't be bothered to
It's
move
almost
my
like they're
mouth to talk
they're
to you."
they're almost being a ventriloquist.
Yeah, they got their jaws wired shut.
Yeah, so
Um,
need to talk good. I
so
don't have to.
So he says, though, they want to win so thoroughly that this case seems like a horrible attack on the archdiocese. Like, how dare these people come at the
Right.
church?
Yeah.
Let me see if I can do that. We want to win so thoroughly that this case seems like a horrible attack.
That's pretty good. Got to tell you, that's
Not too
good.
bad. So, meanwhile, cut to Frank and Mickey. It's just them in the library. Just
In the
those two
law
in
library,
the law library.
right, with these huge volumes, on
Hmm.
the table. So
They're looking, they're the other side. They have a good medical expert. They have the doctors. They have depositions from all of these people. Everyone from the team that like are all attesting that like they didn't do anything wrong.
yeah,
They're basically like, oh my God, this was just like a freak accident. We couldn't have known.
no,
There's no negligence here. But then Frank and Mickey go to the bar, and the
of course,
lady is there
of
again.
course.
Because what else would they be doing? The lady's there again. We learn her name's Laura. And he goes up to her, and she's like, he says, I changed my life today. What did you do? And she's just moved back to the area. She's living in a hotel while she looks for an apartment. She's a divorcee named Laura. And he says she's beautiful, and he asked her to dinner, but they just eat dinner there at the bar. I thought he was gonna take her somewhere, but it was like, oh no, they're just in a booth now at the bar.
Oh yeah, it's like that
Fancy.
wasn't a step up. So yeah,
Right.
we just moved from one side of the place to another.
Yeah. And he's talking to her about like law and his cases and like what it means to seek justice. And the jurors like want to believe you. They want to feel like they're contributing to justice. So you just have to like kind of like help them with that, kind of
Right.
shepherd them towards that. He brings her back to his place. It looks incredibly empty.
I put crummy and run down.
Yeah. He still has a picture of his ex-wife on the nightstand, and she's kind of like, who dat?
Yeah,
And he's like,
and
like, let me just turn this around. And then the next day, he's back to playing pinball at the bar. And then he looks at the clock and he's like, is that right? He has to
he's
go to court to meet with the judge.
and the Prince of Darkness.
Yes,
He's
and
got a meeting
Concannon.
in the judge's chambers. It's like,
Yes. And he goes to meet the judge. I did right here, the judge and his funny little haircut. You know who else he looks like? The guy who was one of the energy secretaries under Obama. He had a funny little haircut like that.
boy, you got me. I don't know.
Okay, his name's Ernest Moniz.
Oh
Does he not
gosh,
look like
yes, yes.
exactly like the
Look,
judge?
it's this guy looks like he signed the Declaration of Independence for
I
God's
know.
sake,
He was the Secretary of Energy under Obama's second term.
and he looked like that.
Yes, because I
Oh,
remember seeing him at like the State of the Union, and I was like, "Oh my God, who is this little guy
oh my God,
with his little
gee,
bob?"
that is too
Everyone
funny.
Google Ernest Moniz, and you'll. This is what the judge in this movie looks like.
You're right. Even to the color of the hair,
And the big dark
the
eyebrows.
real big dark eyebrows. Yes, yeah.
Yep. Anyways, sorry. That's what I
Mhm.
thought of when I saw him. So the judge is like, "Why didn't you guys settle? Let's just settle."
Yeah, he goes, "Come on, fellas, can't we work this out? Can't we work out
Yeah.
our little differences?" You know,
And he says to Frank, "What number would get you and your client to walk out of here?" And Frank says, "My client can't walk." I was like, "Ooh, little mic drop moment
mm-hmm.
there." And Concannon is like, "Listen, the offer that we put out there, 210,000, very generous. It still stands until I walk out of this room. And then it's done." And Frank is like, "Let's go
Yep,
to trial.
yep.
We're going to
Sorry.
trial."
Yep.
The judge keeps trying to push Frank to take the settlement.
He does. He because he brings up his past, about
Yeah.
look, you don't have the best of records, my friend. This would be, a good start for you to get back on your
Mm,
feet. You'd be about, you'd be getting some clients. This would be considered a win for you.
hmm And Frank is like, "No, no."
No.
So now they move forward to jury selection. Um, they're asking people like history of, they're doing voir dire, which is like they're asking people like, have you ever like been neglected in a hospital? Have you ever received treatment at this hospital? Like, do you know someone? Da da da. So that's kind of the type of questions they ask. We don't see a ton of it, but
I,
then Frank
I,
talks to Mickey.
I do like the one guy he asks, he says, "Have you ever been a patient at this hospital?" He goes, "I'm Jewish."
It's like, great.
Yeah,
You're on the list.
yeah, exactly. We'll accept witness number 12,
Yes.
whatever it is, or juror
Um,
number 12. So
but then Mickey comes to him and he's like, I can't get in touch with the OB nurse who is there because I think she's one of the only people that there isn't a deposition for
right.
that the defense has. So they're trying to talk to her because certainly there's a reason why she hasn't talked to the defense. So like maybe we can get her on our side. And then Frank is like, "Oh, I have to go meet the doctor." But before he can leave the courthouse, the brother-in-law confronts him and is like, "Why didn't you? You are ruining our life." He's ready to hit him. Yeah. Why didn't you tell us about the settlement offer?
Yeah, he goes, I had to find out from the other side that they offered us $200,000. And
And
I
you
want,
said no.
yeah, I wanted to say, well, actually, it was 210.
210. Yeah. But and I think that they only needed like $50,000 for
to,
her care. So
to
like
set her up,
to
right?
set her up in like
For
a new place for them to leave.
indefinite.
Yeah.
And then that would give them a stake where they could leave and
Uh-huh.
take his job, right? And yeah, so it was
They would have
more,
had $140,000.
they would have had more than enough to meet their what they wanted.
Yeah. And the brother-in-law, whose name is Kevin Donaghy, again, very Irish. He's like, you are just like the doctors, right? You do what you do, you make your mistakes, and then we have to live with the consequences.
Yeah, you always say, "Oh, I'll do my best. I'm going to do this. I'm going to take care of you." And then, yeah, and then we have to,
We
then we,
you mess up and we have to live with your mistakes. Frank is going to meet Dr. Gruber, who's their medical expert, who was already the guy he'd talked to that was like, yeah, for sure, I'm going to testify. These people are horrible. He's not at the hospital. He wasn't in the locker room. He asked the front desk or like the nurse. He wasn't there at all today. So then he calls his house and like there's no answer. He goes to his house and he's on some island in the Caribbean. And it's
yeah, I
like,
guess it's his
that's,
housekeeper or something.
yeah, because there's a
Yeah,
lady that answers the door, but it does seem like it's like a housekeeper.
yeah,
And then Frank goes to see the judge, Hoyle, Judge Hoyle, and asks him for an extension. And the judge says, no, you should have taken the offer.
no
So,
sympathy. Yeah, I wrote no
no.
sympathy. Yeah, and he goes to see the judge at his house because it's late. It's late at
Hmm.
night. It's like dark. So
Yeah, because it was like 7 p.m. He was supposed to meet that doctor, and then he's been like
right.
running around trying to find him. And then it seems like he probably just goes straight to see the judge from there. So it's probably like 9 at least.
Yeah,
And yeah, the judge has no sympathy, like you said. He's
no,
like, you made your bed, you have to lie in it.
right. We're gonna go to trial.
Hmm.
So
And then meanwhile, I think Laura and Mickey are in they're like at his office, I think. Or no, they're at the bar, maybe.
I can't remember.
I think he tells Mickey to go to the bar and then he'll meet him there after he talks to the
Right.
doctor.
After
So,
yeah.
yeah,
Nick,
so
they're waiting on, yeah, waiting on Frank.
they're waiting on Frank. So Mickey is talking to Laura and he's telling her about how Frank got in trouble for this jury tampering. And really, so what happened was after law school, he like joined this firm. He married the daughter of the guy whose firm it was. He was like, it's a big firm. He's making a lot of money. And one of the partners was doing jury tampering, and Frank caught him and was gonna report him, but then they turned it around on Frank and said that he was doing it because he was gonna rat on them. And so he just like basically to like placate them, he kind of took the fall, left the practice, got divorced, like gave everything up.
Yeah. But
But
the charges were dropped though, so he wasn't
yes,
disbarred. So I guess that was
yes,
part of the deal that if he took the hit,
mm-hmm,
that they would make
yeah.
that go away.
And he said that Mickey said that like because he had to go to jail and like going to jail is what made him flip because he's like
Yeah.
I can't do this. So he
And
couldn't
he
stand
started
being in jail just
drinking.
like on principle. Yeah, and then he started
Yeah.
drinking, and that's
Yeah.
when things kind of fell apart for him, even though he hadn't done anything wrong.
Right. Yeah, he's actually trying to do the right thing, and then he got swept up in it, and
Yeah.
then
So Frank then gets the number for Joseph Alito, the from the insurance company, who they would be the ones paying the settlement, and he's like tries to re get the settlement.
yeah, he
He's like,
says his
"Hey,
client changed her mind.
mm-hmm,
They're getting cold feet.
yeah." But Mr. Concannon has already talked to him, and he's like, "No, he said, when he left that room, the offer was off the table. So like, it's off the table. There's nothing I can do." And so they realized that Concannon got to Dr. Gruber and he got to Alito already. And then Frank and Mickey are Frank's trying to find a new doctor. Laura is there with him, encouraging him to just like take a break, get some rest. Meanwhile, Concannon and his associates are prepping the doctor, Dr. Towler from the hospital who did the surgery. They're prepping him for his testimony. And it's interesting, you can see this is stuff that I think is probably very real about like how it is because he's talking about like she aspirated on vomitus and they're like just use like normal words. She choked on her vomit.
Yeah.
Be straight. He's and they're like trying to ask him straightforward questions and he's like, "Well, there were this and this." And they're like, "Just give a straightforward answer. Don't like you seem like you're hedging. Like don't say the patient, use her name
Yeah.
so you
Uh,
don't sound like you're dehumanizing her or whatever." And then Frank and Mickey have found a new doctor named Dr. Thompson. And Frank goes to pick him up, and he works in New York at like he's a fellow in anesthesiology at this like a women's hospital. So they're like, "Oh, that sounds really good." He's has experience testifying. Great.
I like how he gets them at the Amtrak train station. So
Yes. So he goes to pick him up and then he sees him and Dr. Thompson is black, which is a surprise to Frank.
he's
He's like,
also elderly.
he's old. Yeah. He's like, "Oh,
Dr. Thompson. Well, the guy says, "Are you Mr. Galvin?" And he goes, "Dr. Thompson,
mm-hmm."
I presume."
I didn't realize it was because he was older too. I thought it was just because he was black and Boston has a
I because they made mention of his
reputation.
yeah, they made mention of his age a couple of times,
Mm.
about how old he was, and he's not board certified.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It just reminded me that scene when he sees him, it reminds me of on on Abbott Elementary in one of the earlier seasons, one of the characters, the like named Jacob, the like white guy,
Uh-huh.
his boyfriend comes and his boyfriend is black. And the principal just sees him and goes, "Black?" And his name is Zach. He goes, "It's pronounced Zach." That was like what played in my head when he was like, "Dr. Thompson, black?"
Mine was from Blazing Saddles when they meet your new sheriff.
Oh yeah.
He's when they kept when they saw him off in the
Mm-hmm.
distance. But yeah, Frank is a little taken aback.
Mm-hmm. And he was gonna stay in a hotel, but Frank's like, "No, you need to stay in my apartment," because he doesn't want the archdiocese to like get their hands on him. And then Frank goes to see the OB nurse. He finds her. He goes to her apartment. She doesn't want to talk to him, but he's like pushing and pushing and pushing. He's like, "I'll subpoena her," and she's like, then like you got to do that. But she says he's a whore, these lawyers, because the defense must have been pushing her too. Because she says you all are whores who only care about money. Then meanwhile at defense headquarters, Concannon and his people, Concannon has this like assistant named Billy who's like his investigator, I guess, that like finds everything out. So he's like just rattling off Dr. Thompson's like life story.
Like he's
Um,
74 years old,
he
I'm
works
sorry,
at
go,
this hospital. He like this is what he does there. He's testified in like 4 bajillion other cases. He's not board certified, blah blah blah. And he's black.
I was getting ready, and
Mm.
here the cherry on top.
If you don't know people, Boston has something of a reputation.
Is it for lobster?
Yes, exactly. The accent and racism.
I knew, I knew it was lobster.
But the Concannon says we are not going to mention the fact that he's black, but when he's on the stand, we will have a black lawyer with us at the table. So it looks like we're not being mean to black people, so we don't look racist. He doesn't say that, but that's obviously the reason. Although I don't recall that they had one.
I was going to say I don't recall seeing one at the table though when he was testifying, but and they did cut to
Yeah,
the
I
defense
don't remember.
table,
Now that I say that, I'm like, I don't
unless he was
remember.
in gallery behind him or something. So
Yeah, I don't know.
anyway,
But yeah. So Mickey and Frank are practicing with Dr. Thompson, and things are not looking great because they're talking about calling a code blue, and he goes, "What's a code blue?" So clearly it's like code blue, I think at this time was a relatively new
new.
thing, but that also suggests he has not been practicing for a while.
Well, or just never had a code blue called, maybe,
Right. But I
we're
mean, I don't think you can be at a hospital and not have. I've heard, like, I'm a social worker and I've heard code blue several times.
you sure you weren't just thinking about all the ER episodes we watched? So
No, I've heard code blues. So Frank and Mickey are kind of like,
yeah,
I don't think this is good.
yeah, they're starting to go.
And
But he does say Dr. Thompson says, look, they gave her the wrong anesthesia. He
yeah, they
says I
shouldn't have given
review
her that.
because she complained of nausea, so they
Hmm.
should not have given her the anesthesia they did. They should have
Yeah.
erred on the side of caution. And then yeah, so Frank's like, we're screwed.
Yeah. So Frank, on that note, is like he's like getting ready to go to bed. He's like ranting to Laura. He's like, "We're gonna lose. It's my fault. Like it's all over." And she's like, "Well, I mean, it's not over. So what are you gonna do?" And he's just like, "What are you talking? Like, there's nothing I can do." Da, da, da. And she's like, "You're looking for some. If you're looking for sympathy, you came to the wrong place. Grow up, figure something out. I cannot invest in failure anymore." It's
Yeah,
like,
because she
oh,
talks about she got divorced from her ex, and her ex was a lawyer. She said,
mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah.
So,
She's like, "You better figure something out."
mm-hmm.
And he goes to the bathroom and like he has a little freak out and he asks her not to pressure him.
He has a panic attack.
Yes, he has a little panic attack.
That's what I wrote. That's not
Yeah,
a diagnosis, by the way, people. I'm not an MD, so just saying.
but it's giving panic attack for sure. He's like, don't. He's like, don't pressure me, please.
Yeah. Yeah, he shuts himself in the bathroom. I love that
Yeah,
because he's like, you know, and I think that's a kind of an unexpected thing. You know what I mean? It's like,
yeah.
for especially someone who, Paul Newman, the Frank is not a young guy.
Hmm.
He's been, yeah, he's down on his luck and stuff. But you expect someone of a certain age or whatever to be stalwart and and whatever. But he's like, buddy, he's losing it. He just knows it. You're gonna lose. Sorry.
Hmm.
Sorry.
It feels like something you'd see like a teenage girl do, you know?
Yeah, it's
And
like,
so it is funny to see like a distinguished man
I
to
just need a
be doing
moment.
that.
Yeah, I
Yes.
need a moment.
I didn't need a minute.
Yeah. And he's like, he opens up the bathroom door and he goes, please don't pressure me. And he closes the bathroom door again. He's like trying to get his act together. So,
Yeah, but I mean, you get it, right? He's like,
oh,
he's
yeah.
decided to not take the easy way out,
Because well,
but
at one point he calls himself idiot. He goes, "You're an idiot. You're an idiot." Because he didn't take the settlement. He had to, try to be the Don Quixote of lawyers and
Mhm.
tilt at windmills. So,
Yeah, he's trying to be like brave and have integrity, and he's like, ah, I'm
yeah,
not, I'm
yeah,
not.
boy, I screwed this one up. So, and
Yeah,
it's all my fault.
right. And it's like I was trying to do it because they deserve more, and now I'm gonna get them nothing. Like, God.
Yeah, yeah.
So the next day, it's time for trial, and Frank talks to Sally, the sister of the victim, and says that he's going to do the best that he can for her and her sister. And he's like, "Listen, I know that this means a lot to you, but I'm being really serious when I say that it means that much to me too." It is very sincere. Like,
I was going to say, and I felt like he really meant it, didn't you? Like,
yeah.
that he sort of regained some of that. Look, I'm in this for the right reason.
Yes.
I'm not doing it to try to screw more money out of them. I think at this point it's really not about the money for Frank, it's about justice.
Hmm.
For them to acknowledge that they screwed up.
And we learn that people from the archdiocese have been following Frank. They know he talked to the nurse. So like there's someone is spying because
Well,
they
they're
know
getting
that,
inside information, yeah,
yeah, they
about
know he
his
talked to the
whereabouts.
nurse. So it's like, hmm, something's happening here. There's a mole in his operation. And then it's time for Dr. Thompson to testify. And this is where it comes out he's not board certified, etc. But then the judge, Frank's trying to, build up to it, and the judge is like, get to the point. And then the judge asks a very narrow question because they're talking about how like she was in code blue for 9 minutes. Like it was 9 minutes before they restored her pulse. And it's like, that can cause like really great damage. And, it should be less than that, right? To you want to restore it within like 2 minutes, right? To
Right.
like make sure everything's okay. And the judge asks a very narrow question. He says something like, well, does her having no pulse for 9 minutes always mean that there's negligence? And the doctor's like, well, there are like other factors. And the judge is like, no, 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 answer that question. And
Yeah.
the doctor's like, well, no, it doesn't automatically mean negligence.
He
But he
says
didn't let
within
him,
the scope of your question.
yeah,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, that
then
it doesn't.
no. But like in this situation, there's other, and the judge is like, nope, you answer the question.
Yeah, and he excuses him.
So the
And
doctors weren't negligent. You can sit down and I'm adjourning court until 1, and lawyers come to my chambers. And the judge is pissed at Galvin. He's like, he threatens him with disbarment. And Frank is like, you are holding the bag for the local political machine. You are a defendant's judge because you couldn't hack it as a lawyer. I'm going to move for a mistrial. I'm going to report you to the Judicial Review Board. And the judge is like, I deny your motion for a mistrial. I will have you arrested for contempt. And Frank storms out. And then the poor sister is she's like, we're not going to win. I don't think we're going to win. And then the Dr. Howler from the operating room is testifying, and Frank is cross-examining him pretty hard. He's the doctor's then is like, well, she had anemia, so she could have had brain damage in only a couple of minutes. And then this part's kind of sad, like, court is adjourned for the day. Frank and Mickey are out in like the, hallway, and Dr. Thompson comes out and he's like, well, I didn't do very well for you, I
yeah,
guess. I'm sorry. I can stick around if you want. And Frank's like, no, just
yeah,
Go
you can
home.
go home. Yeah, you can. Yeah, he says no, no. He goes, you were fine. He's trying to be a nice guy and stuff, but you can see the look on both of their faces, him and Mickey. It's like we're cooked.
Yeah, you kind of
Stick
screwed
a
us.
fork in us.
Seems like a lovely man, Dr. Thompson. Seems like a very
Yeah.
nice,
Oh,
very
and it was very
jolly, like affable.
and very serious about how he felt about the case. He goes, "Oh, it's clear that that there was negligence, and that
Hmm.
they didn't do the correct procedure and so on."
Yeah. But the judge just like wouldn't even let him say it.
No,
I was like, that does feel like I'm not a lawyer. I got my law degree from Law and Order SVU, but
even even Frank tells the judge, he says, "Look, if you're going to try my case, at least try not to lose it."
right. Frank talks to Laura and tells it's really bad. And Mickey's like, listen, this one's over, but there'll be other cases. And Frank's like, there are no other cases. This is the case.
Yeah, this was going to be the one that make him or break him. Don't you think this was
Yeah.
if he loses this, that he knows he's on the highway to hell?
Yeah,
Or
he just like can't hack it. And he'll like also just feel incredibly guilty.
right,
He'll
yeah,
just
that
feel horrible. So then, big moment here. Concannon is in his office talking to someone and writing them a check and talking about, how good they've done to get all this information for him and how they're going to win the case. And who is there getting the check? It's Laura. Laura is the mole. She's been feeding information to Concannon and he's paying her off. And he's like, oh, welcome back to the area. Because I guess she was also a lawyer too, and she's trying to
that's
get back into it.
trying to get her practice or a practice or getting back into practicing law, and he says this will be a a small whatever towards building that getting that done the building block or whatever. So
Yeah.
and thank goodness back in the 80s they only had paper checks and
Mm.
not Venmo or PayPal.
Yeah. Yeah. Although I guess if it was now, you could see the like, because spoiler alert, everybody, they find the check, but you could see like you get the notification
Well, that's
sometimes.
true. Yeah, I guess you
It's
could.
like
Yeah.
Venmo, so and so paid
Yeah,
you,
sent
whatever.
you. Yeah,
Ed
sent you.
Concannon paid
Yeah,
you.
or you sent. Yeah, or yeah, you sent. Laura.
That's what it would happen if it was today. He would see that like
You,
notification.
right on the phone. You're right. Yeah. So
Mm. So that sucks. But Frank and Mickey are strategizing still, and they do realize that there is one person who no one has talked to, and it's the admitting nurse who filled out the form where it asked, when did you last eat? Because I think they even mentioned this, like, the sister is like, she said she ate an hour before,
yeah,
but the
and
form says nine
not
hours before.
and the sister said no. We took her to the hospital and we just eaten dinner like a full meal an
Yeah.
hour before we got there, and she was complaining of nausea.
Mm-hmm. And then so Frank, he's back in it. He's back to his wily ways. So he goes to the chapel at the hospital and finds the OB nurse who didn't want to talk to him praying. And the admitting nurse, her name's Caitlin, right? So he goes up to the OB nurse and he's like, I see what you're trying to do. You're trying to protect Caitlin, and I understand that. Um, I just talked to her today, and she's like, "Oh, you were in New York? Boom! Now he knows where she is."
Yeah, and he takes off. He's like, bingo. Now I
Got
know where
him.
she is. Yeah.
Yeah, so he's smart. He gets her to blurt out information. And we learn that she quit 2 weeks after this incident happened with Deborah, and she moved to New York. So he's like now number one um, mission is find this woman, Caitlin Costello.
Right.
And um, he's in the office, Mickey's looking, he's making calls, like calling like information and directories and hospitals and
I
all
was
this
gonna say
stuff.
they've got like phone books for New York, and then like
Mm-hmm.
looking through, I guess, for Costello's,
Yeah. And
Abbott and
Laura's there.
Costello. I don't know.
Yeah. Costello as in Abbott? Laura's there and she's like, Frank, I really need to talk to you. And he's like, I do not have time right now. Like later, we'll
Right.
talk. So what just I guess like to her credit, she it does seem like she was trying to be honest, but she could have been a
Maybe.
little bit more like, no, for real, like I have to tell you something.
Yeah.
That's something you gotta just blurt
Just
out.
grab it. Right. Just grab them by the
I know
lapels.
why Kincannon knows all this information. It
Right.
came from
Yeah.
me. Like if she
I'm
had
the
said that, he would have stopped and been like, "Oh, word,"
I'm
and
the
then she would have
rat.
had to admit it. Yeah, but she didn't actually want to tell him, probably.
No.
And then later we see, you know, Mickey fell asleep on the couch in the office, and Laura's asleep. Frank is up drinking a beer.
A warm beer, by the way, he takes out of the file cabinet. It's a warm Budweiser. I wrote that down.
That's
Plus,
how
it
you
has,
know you might have a problem if you're storing alcohol in your file cabinet in
you
your
don't even
office
have a fridge. Yeah.
and
And you're
drinking
drinking.
it warm.
Got the old pull tabs too.
Right, yeah.
Notice that.
And it's alcohol that's meant to be refrigerated. You know, some people have their like bourbon or whatever or their brandy out.
Oh,
That's
right, right,
okay.
right, right. Different
Beer
story.
is meant to be refrigerated. So anyways,
Or at least cellar cool, as they say in the UK, which I learned when I was over there. Yeah. So not
fancy.
necessarily refrigerated, but cellar
Yeah.
cool. So
Yeah, cooled at least.
cooled. Yeah.
But Frank gets an idea. He sees his phone bill on the ground and you can see everyone he's called. So he's like, light bulb. And he goes back to the labor and delivery, the OB nurse, to her apartment and breaks into her mailbox. This is a federal offense, people. No one in this movie, none of these legal lawyers are operating ethically, nor is the judge. Ethics violations
Don't
all over the place.
don't try this at home.
Exactly. He finds her phone bill and finds a New York number.
That she calls repeatedly. Yeah.
Yes. So, and you know, if she's protecting this other nurse, they must have a relationship. So he takes that number down, goes to the phone booth because you know they were phone booth, and he calls her, and he pretends to be from like a nursing like magazine, and he learns she's married now. That's why he couldn't find her. Her name's Caitlin Costello Price. She's like, oh, it's Caitlin Price, and he's like, oh, do you
Oh,
want to renew your prescription subscription? And
yeah. He says you let it lapse. We have a
yeah,
renewal offer.
hmm
And she goes, "Why let that lapse 3 years ago?"
yeah, and she's like, and I could just get it from this place where I work.
Right. And
So he finds out,
she
yeah, she
names it,
names
doesn't
it.
it?
So
Yeah.
he's like, again, bingo.
He's a good lawyer. He's
He
you know he
is. He's
yeah.
good at getting information.
Yeah, well, okay, yeah, you're right. Yeah, good lawyer means he wouldn't break into people's mailboxes.
Yeah, yeah. But I do think the skill of getting people to admit, asking questions in such a way to get people to
Mm-hmm.
admit information is a good,
Yep.
a useful skill, right? Because
Yep.
that would be useful when you're questioning people. So
Right.
Frank calls and lets Laura know he's going to New York. And while Laura's on the phone, Mickey sees in her purse the envelope, opens it up, sees the
From the
check
other
from,
law firm. Yeah, because
yes,
it
he
has
sees
the
it has
letterhead.
Concannon and da 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 on
Yeah.
it.
Well, he's looking for cigarettes, to be honest. He's not like
Yes.
snooping in her
He's
purse
not,
to
yeah,
be.
he's looking for a cigarette. And then he opens up and sees the check and he's like, so he puts together that she's the spy. And he tells her, he's like, oh, I have to go. I'm going to go get cigarettes. What he's actually doing is going to New York to go
Yeah.
after Frank. So Frank finds Caitlin. She's working at like a daycare now. It seems like she's like a preschool teacher, school nurse kind
Something.
of thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and then, you know, he kind of confronts her and is like, I know who you are. Like, tell me what's going on. I need you to testify, blah, blah. And then Mickey comes and he finds Frank and tells him about Laura. And then Laura has also come to New York and goes to, like, she's at a bar, typical place for these
Because
people to
she
be.
said she's going to meet him there at such
Yeah.
and such a place because she's got to sign some papers for her divorce.
hmm So he goes to this bar where she is and he sees her and it's just like, he just looks like full of contempt. And he walks over to her and just like slaps the shit out of her,
Yep.
basically, knocks her over.
Basically. Yep. And cuts her mouth.
Yeah. And I was like, I don't like that.
No, no, and regardless, and then a couple of guys grab him.
Yeah, because they're like, this man just hit a woman.
Yeah, just
What the
walked
hell?
up to her, and
Like,
just
with
she didn't
not a
say a
word
word.
exchanged,
Exactly.
just
Yeah.
like reared back and slapped her across the face, knocking her down.
Oh yeah. Like he nailed her.
Yeah, he hit it pretty hard. Hit her pretty hard. Yeah, it's
And then she tells him, "Leave him alone.
yeah. She's like, it's
Just leave him. I'm fine. I'm okay."
yeah, yeah. I'm like, I wish that he had just been able to give her a verbal dressing down and just made her feel really bad.
I know. And I don't know if this is one of those parts of, maybe it's in the book. I don't know that, that it was written that way.
Hmm.
So, but I don't know if this is one of those ones where uh, they took liberties with, or this is exactly how it was in the book. So,
Hmm. Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. Anyways, then Frank and Mickey go back, and Mickey is like, we could, this is excellent grounds to move for a mistrial because
right, about Laura.
Kincannon's ethics violation,
Yeah.
because some of them are bad, I guess. But Frank is like, no, we're going to
We're
trial. Like, we have this like ace in the hole now.
yeah.
So back at court, Frank is questioning the doctor again, and he's kind of like, hypothetically, like if someone ate, would you give them general anesthesia? What could happen if they ate like shortly before?
Would that be negligence if you gave them
Hmm.
anesthesia
And the
if they ate
doctor's
within
like,
an hour?
oh yeah, because it's like, oh, you wrote the textbook
Oh,
on
yeah,
anesthesia. He literally wrote the textbook, and they have to look. It's like on
right,
his
because
table.
he's
He's like,
like
the
he's quoting from the book, and he goes,
mhm.
"Well, I wrote that." So
Yeah. So it's like, yeah, and the doctor agrees it would be negligent if that happened. You gave someone general anesthesia, not like shortly after they ate. And Jim is doing a digging motion. Like, yes, I think that is the key to like good lawyering, especially in movies. You got to let someone dig their own hole.
right, exactly.
And then Frank calls his next witness, Caitlin Costello Price, and that doctor who has gone back to sit down is like, oh, looks shocked.
Uh, And James Mason sees him and says, like, "What the hell?
Uh,
Is something you want to tell us?"
why are you making that face?
Yes.
So she testifies that when she did the intake with Deborah, the patient, she said she ate an hour before admission. And when James Mason, Ed Concannon, comes to cross examine her, he's like, so I have the original form here. It says 9 hours. And she says, I wrote a one. I made a copy of the form before I changed it. And she basically says the doctors, including Dr. Towler, who's the one who's there, pressured her. So basically, they had not looked at the intake paperwork that said she had eaten an hour before. So they didn't do their due diligence before giving her this general anesthesia. And then, when everything went wrong, then they saw it. And they pressured this nurse, Caitlin, to change it to a 9 under threat of like, you're going to get fired. We're going to make sure you never work again. We're going to ruin your life, basically. And Concannon, the defense attorney, objects to the admission of this other form because he reads from some legal book a rule or like a precedent, a previous ruling that says if you have like the original document, you can't admit another version of the document, which seems like a stupid rule because like lots of people who do bad things like
Right.
falsify documents, change them.
Documents.
So like you
Yeah.
can't like what if the charge is falsifying documents? You can't bring the other document? Like that makes no sense. But whatever in this world, that's the rule.
Now you're making my brain hurt.
But it's just I'm sorry.
No, you're
I
no.
also I discussed this with my partner who is a lawyer who was like, "What? No." And now I'm like, "Oh, you're right. That makes no sense."
I thought
But
about I didn't think about that till you just said that. Yeah, what if the charge is document tampering? So it's
right. So whatever. But for whatever reason, that is the rule. And maybe just in the civil court, I don't know. And so the judge is like, "You're right, I have to disallow this." And then they're like, "Well, basically, her whole testimony is about this form, so we should get rid of her whole testimony." Which, again, whatever. The judge agrees, mostly because the judge hates Frank, I think, at this point.
Well, and
The,
you don't know if he's in cahoots with the defense either. You know what I
right.
mean? Because Frank's accused him of being the bag man,
Yeah.
for the political machine. So,
And
for
that
all we
he's
know, there's a bigger check written to his name.
right. He's a defendant's judge, etc.
Yeah,
So
yeah. And he
he's
doesn't like
certainly
Frank.
he certainly seems to have a bias. And it's not on Frank's side for whatever, for a
Right.
myriad of reasons. So her entire testimony's disallowed. It's struck. And then that Joseph Alito guy goes to report back to the bishop to say, like, the case is over, all this stuff got thrown out, like, we won. And he's like, the bishop's like, but this woman, like, did you believe her? And the guy's like, oh, well, it got tossed, so it doesn't matter. And he's like, but
Did
did
you
you
believe?
believe her? And the guy does not answer
There's
because he
that look.
did.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
the bishop didn't know about this. That's
Mm-hmm.
where, the bishop
Mm-hmm.
really thought, he was acting in good faith.
Yeah.
So
No
to
pun
speak. So
intended.
yeah, I'm sorry, so to speak. Sorry, didn't think about that. I really
Yeah.
did. I really didn't think about that.
But
But
yeah,
yeah,
so
under the impression the doctors really had not made a mistake, that it was just a
correct.
horrible accident that happened. So
Yeah. Yeah. And his concern from the beginning was like how they looked. And regardless of if on a legal basis that her testimony was stricken, people still heard it.
right, the
And
jury
that
was told to
still
ignore it, but yeah,
reflects poorly on the archdiocese, the Catholic hospital.
exactly. So
So Frank gives his closing argument and he talks about like how people become victims, but like you don't ever anticipate that happening. We want to be able to trust our institutions and feel like things are just. So like, make your decision based on that. And the jury deliberates and comes back. They've reached a verdict. They hold for the plaintiff and against the defendants. And then the judge is kind of like, "Oh." And then the jury foreperson is like, Judge, we did have a question. Can we give the plaintiff more than they asked for?" And you can see the judge is like, God damn it. He's
yeah,
like,
are we limited by, are we restricted by the specifications of the prosecution?
yeah. And judge is like, no, your only limit is your good judgment or something like that. And they're like, great.
And in two shots, you see one of the young lawyers like hang his head down from the
Hmm.
defense, and Mickey's like looking up to God, like,
Yeah. And you can see
thank
the
you.
sister behind them is like,
Oh yeah,
oh.
yeah. So it's good. And
And,
Frank had told him at some point, you're going to get 5 to 6 times,
mhm.
what you're asking, or what they offered, and try to placate them. But so now we
Yeah.
don't know, what the number is, but
But he might have been right.
it's going to be a lot more zeros in there, I think.
Yeah, yeah. So, you like now own what's the biggest like cathedral in Boston? You own it now. Um, but yeah, Frank outside the courtroom, people are like, "Oh, great job, Frank!" Like,
Yeah,
because
Frank's
I guess,
back. Yeah,
yeah, it seems like it's lawyers know each other.
yeah.
So
What
these
even
people,
even
yeah,
some of the police officers and stuff are like,
yeah,
the
I guess if
bailiffs and
you
stuff.
come to the same courthouse enough
Right.
times, you get to know the parties there. So
Yeah.
all these people are coming up to him like, "Great, Frank, congratulations, way to go." And then he sees Laura kind of across the way, and he just looks at her, and then he kind of looks away, and then she's gone. And
Gotta admit,
then,
the nerve. The
yeah,
nerve, come on.
yeah,
I mean, no, she didn't deserve to be slapped. I'll grant you
no,
that. But,
yeah,
that's a little ballsy, to
right.
me.
Like, this doesn't absolve you. Like, the
What?
fact that your treachery didn't succeed doesn't
Exactly.
absolve you from doing the treachery.
I mean, that was cold-hearted. Come on, you
Mm-hmm.
know?
Especially for her to give him that lecture
Yeah, you know.
about, I mean, he's like, it's
And
over. And she's like, it's not over. Girl, it's over because of you.
you
What are you talking about? It's not over.
right, you rigged the race, you
Right.
know.
That's like,
You hamstrung them from the very beginning.
right. Right. It's like you're the, I don't know, the person who whacked Nancy Kerrigan in the leg and you're like, get up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, suck it up, sister, you know.
Right. It's not
Uh
over. Why are you crying? Are you kidding me? Are you
plus
kidding me?
technically don't don't hate the messenger. She slept with Frank, so and got paid
Mm-hmm.
for it. So, you know,
Yeah.
there's a definition for that. So just
Well,
saying.
the that OB nurse did say to him, just saying. But yeah, and the end of the movie, and again, this is like it's not my favorite.
Yeah.
We see Laura at her hotel because she's still in a hotel. Although she got that check, so she should be able to afford a place now. But she's in her hotel, alone, and she kind of is drinking and like eating room service, and she's drunk, so she kind of slides her phone over, calls Frank, and Frank's in his office, and he thinks about picking up the phone. He doesn't know it's her because caller ID didn't exist then, but he's just looking at the phone. He just lets it ring. And then she's just kind of like sitting there, like sad.
And it just rings because back in those days the phone rang until you either hung up, there was no answer voicemail or anything. So until
Yeah.
someone answered the phone or you hung up, the phone would keep on ringing. So
Yeah. And then it just ends like that.
and I have to admit that was kind of anticlimactic, for me as far as,
Yeah.
you know,
I would have preferred if it ended after he saw her at the courthouse.
right. I was going to
And
say they should have just cut it there, I think.
yeah.
I mean, that's where I would have stopped it. So,
Yeah. It was just like, I don't know. And again, this makes me want to read the book because, like, is that a book thing? Is that a David Mamet thing? Because I will say, like, there are things David Mamet has written and like the women of it all, I'm like,
well,
mm,
in what I read about the book is the book ends with them being, they don't even know the verdict.
oh,
It ends with
huh.
the jury deliberating when the jury goes off to deliberate. And then that's the end of the book. So I think they wrote the ending, the feel good ending of the verdict. I'm sorry, not the movie title, but the actual the conclusion for the audience. But I didn't. I don't. I'm like you. I don't like the added in thing about her trying to call him and stuff. It's like, look, she knows what she did. She's a grown person. So you screwed up and maybe yeah she developed feelings for him and stuff, but she still
Hmm.
in the end she took their money. So maybe she gave the money back. I don't know. So
Yeah.
and maybe that's why she's still living in a crummy hotel. So
Yeah. So, well, on that note, there were in the original version of the script, David Mamet didn't write the that end. He had
oh
an
okay.
ending there, and the producers didn't like that. They needed some resolution, and David Mamet was like, "No, I think you have an old-fashioned idea of how a movie should end, and I'm not doing it." Also, apparently, the producer, the way that he expressed this was like, "Oh, my script seems to be missing the last few pages," and David Mamet did not like the sarcasm. So, that was also they had a different director originally attached, and the director also didn't like David Mamet's script, and he left. So then the producers were commissioning other screenplays from other people, and they liked it, and they wanted Robert Redford approached them, and he wanted to be Frank Galvin. Then he recommended someone else to rewrite it, and then no one was happy with that guy's writing. And then Robert Redford met with another director, and the producers didn't like that he was meeting with the director without telling them, so they fired him. And then they contacted Sidney Lumet, and they sent him the rewritten versions of the screenplay. But Sidney Lumet somehow knew about David Mamet's version, and he read that and he said, I prefer this. And then I guess he developed a better working relationship with David Mamet to suggest the changes. And they didn't make a lot of changes.
Oh,
But I
okay.
think having the resolution at the end. So I guess he sort of it's like you catch more flies with honey than with vinegar.
Right.
Um Also Lumet didn't like the rewrites that Robert Redford was involved in because it seemed like Robert Redford was making the character trying to make the character better. Like
Oh.
not have the dark side, not have the drunkenness.
Oh.
Um he This is what Lumet said. The rewrites were getting worse because Redford was slowly shifting the emphasis on the character. Mamet had written a drunk hustling his way from one seedy case to another until one day he sees a chance for salvation and, filled with fear, takes it. The star, Redford, kept eliminating the unpleasant side of the character, trying to make him more lovable so the audience would, quote, identify with him. So Lumet worked with him to David Mamet to fix what he saw as like a few small problems, including supplying a resolution to the trial. And then they approached Paul Newman about being in it, and he also liked David Mamet's version the best and agreed to play Frank Alvin. So that was kind of the evolution of the story. But but yeah, I didn't love that ending. I just was like, I don't know, it just makes her seem like pathetic.
Uh, yeah,
I don't know. If like
and desperate.
it just
Uh,
makes me wonder if like a man had been the spy, they would not have ended him in that way.
I agree. I don't think that I agree. And maybe it was a sign of the times that, at the time,
Hmm.
and how, the women were portrayed in film and stuff. Because, I know it doesn't seem like a long time ago, but it was 40 years ago. So, and times have changed, slowly and a little bit better.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, but but the arc of Frank, though, I don't think it would have worked if you'd made him any better. You know what I mean? I mean, uh, I would have preferred maybe even a couple more drunken blackouts or something, like where it was really bad, because we only get the one in the beginning. After that, he seems to sort of control his liquor. It's maybe
Hmm.
he's while he's working, maybe that's how he functions. He's like a functioning alcoholic.
Hmm.
He still drinks, but he was able to control that.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like I think the suggestion too is that like, you drink for something, right? If you have a
Yeah,
drinking problem, you're drinking to like he's drinking to like fill
yeah.
a hole and it's like maybe this he has some purpose that like helps
Oh,
to fill that a little bit. You know what
oh,
I mean? Like I
yeah.
feel like that's kind
I
of
didn't
the
think
the
about that. Yeah.
suggestion
Mm-hmm.
to
Yeah.
me a little bit that like, he feels like a failure. He feels like he knows he's an ambulance chaser and I don't think that he thinks highly about himself for that. And it's like he's like maybe I can be like a good guy. I can like
Yeah.
accomplish something, which seems to be maybe earlier in his career what he
What he set out to
wanted.
be.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what he was, maybe. It
Yeah.
sounds like he was a good lawyer
He was trying to do the right thing.
and a
Yeah.
respected lawyer, because and people
Hmm.
seem to like him. It's yeah, maybe it was like you said in what you were reading about, what they said that here was his chance at redemption, or
Hmm.
or what he
Yeah.
saw as
I
his
really like
chance.
that. He
Yeah.
sees a chance for salvation and filled with fear takes it. I think that's a really
Hmm.
interesting way to talk about it. Also, I really want to get Sidney Lumet has a book called Making Movies, but because there's a also a blurb on the Wikipedia page about like
Oh.
initially so Sidney Lumet, I guess in contrast to other directors, does a lot of dress rehearsal. And Paul
Oh.
Newman said that was really helpful because Sidney Lumet says like in the beginning, like it was fine, but it was like a little flat. Like we weren't getting like I knew that there was a lot more potential for like emotion, like a
Hmm.
higher level here. And he went to Paul Newman and was like, hey, like, what's going on? And Paul Newman at first was like, oh, I just haven't memorized the lines yet. And once I do, like, I'll be better. And he's like, I don't think that's it. Like, there's a piece of the character that's missing. And I won't, I'm not gonna, you don't have to tell me anything about your private life, but like, I think that there's probably, something within you that you have to reveal this part of the character.
Oh,
I can't help you with that, making that decision if you feel up to doing that. But like, I think that that's it. And he's like, they live near each other, so they rode home together, and it was a silent ride. But then, that was like a Friday, and then on Monday when they came back, he said like sparks flew. He was superb. It took on life, so he was able to like tap into something within himself that he like maybe had been holding back.
that's interesting.
So
So,
yeah, I think it's really interesting and like it's Sidney Lumet also talks about like that they chose the hues of the lighting and the uh set decoration. They picked
hmm.
particular colors because it's about a man haunted by his past. So that's why everything is kind of like what they call them autumnal hues. So it's like brown, deep
Oh, sort of.
yellows, burnt orange, burgundy reds. And I love this. If we got stuck on in a location and it had an unwanted color, we got permission to repaint it. So they didn't want light yellow, light green, blue, pink. It's all these sort of
Nothing
like,
dark and sort of,
mhm,
yeah, earthy
yeah,
tones and stuff.
yes, yes. So, but yeah, I thought that that was interesting. So it does
Very
make me want
much
to read
so.
more from Sidney Lumet. So he has a book that came out in 1995 called Making Movies. So it's really interesting. Like I have William Goldman's book Adventures in the Screen Trade, which I've referenced before, like,
Hmm.
and he talks about like writing all these famous movies that he wrote, including All the President's Men that he had to write like with input from Woodward and Bernstein. So it is interesting to just like read the people who made these things and like what was their thought process at the time and like how did they come to these decisions? How did they interact with these other players? Like it's very interesting to read about him like interacting with Paul Newman like that.
I'm
So,
sure. Yeah, yeah, exactly. I was going to say, and then for him to, whatever he planted in Paul's mind or whatever,
mm-hmm.
in order to bring out the depth of the character that he wanted, and then for him
Mm-hmm.
to not only do that, but to see that it was lacking, that, he
Yeah.
wasn't getting maybe
And
what
I
he
think
knew he could get.
right. Especially to say that to like Paul Newman,
Yeah, I
right?
mean,
Because this is 1982. Paul Newman is Paul Newman.
Paul Newman. Yeah, exactly. So I mean, yeah,
He
it's
wasn't
like,
new to this.
yeah, this wasn't his first rodeo by any stretch of the
No.
imagination.
So
So
to
I'm
I
sure.
also to be able to say to Paul Newman like, "Hey," but also Sidney Lumet had done like 12 Angry Men and like,
Well, yeah, I'm sure there was
all
a
this
mutual
stuff.
respect there. So,
Yeah. But I think that also that's like a keen insight too to be able to be like, there's
hmm,
something here. I think this is what it is. Think on that. And then
yeah,
for that to work. So I think that
yeah,
that shows like a real talented like I think part of the thing that I like about movies that relates to like what I do in normal life is like understanding people. And I think that there is an overlap in that. Obviously it's used very differently, but like that says to me that like you have like some sort of insight and understanding of people, in a different way. But
yeah. No, yeah, that's yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So, well, on that note, we should talk about the cast, I guess.
Yeah, these little bit players that
Yeah. So obviously, first things first, there's Frank Galvin, played by Paul Newman. This is the fourth movie that we've done featuring Paul Newman. So he's moving up the list. We've seen him in Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, The Sting, and Slapshot before this. But he's also known for many, many, many other movies. The Color of Money, Cat on a Hot Tin Roof, Cool Hand Luke, The Towering Inferno. He was voicing Cars. It was like his last role. You also see him represented in the salad dressing aisle at the grocery store.
exactly.
Newman's Own. Still goes to charity. Laura Fisher, played by Charlotte Rampling. She was in other things. She's been in a lot of things like over the years. Most recently, she's been in the Dune movies, at least the first one.
Hmm.
Stardust Memories, Swimming Pool, Young and Beautiful, The Damned, The Night Porter. She was on the show Dexter. Mickey Morrissey is played by Jack Warden. This is the third movie we've seen him in. He was in The Replacements, All the President's Men. He was also in 12 Angry Men, From Here to Eternity, Shampoo, Heaven Can Wait, Problem Child, Bullets Over Broadway, a long and illustrious career there as well. Ed Concannon, played by James Mason, who we have met once in Salem's Lot. He was the vampire's familiar. He has also He's done a million things. The Seventh Veil, The Wicked Lady, Odd Man Out, A Star is Born, the first one with Judy
Judy
Garland.
Garland.
North by Northwest, Lolita, Heaven Can Wait. Julius Caesar, The Desert Fox, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, The Boys from Brazil, and on and on and on. Also, feel free to chime in, Jim, if there's any things that
Oh
stand
no,
out that
no,
you want to add.
no, you've hit all the good ones. So as far as I'm concerned, so yeah.
Yeah. Also, like a lot of these people have done a lot of theater too. So, Judge Hoyle, played by Milo O'Shea, which makes sense because has an Irish accent in the movie. And he was in Ulysses, which also makes sense, like iconic Irish story.
Hmm.
Romeo and Juliet, Barbarella, Theater of Blood, and he's made appearances on a lot of television programs such as Cheers, Frasier, Oz, The West Wing.
He's got one of those familiar faces where he's one of those people. I think when you see him, you think, "Oh yeah, yeah, I've seen him before," and
Yeah,
so on. And especially when you hear his voice.
yeah, yeah. It might be that you saw Secretary of Energy Ernesto Muniz, but
Now I can't unsee
I
that. So yeah,
know.
no, yeah,
uh,
brothers
Caitlin,
from
Cos-
another mother. So
right. Caitlin Costello Price, played by Lindsay Krause. We have seen her also. She was in Slapshot. She's also in All the President's Men. I don't remember who she played in there, but she's also in that movie.
oh, I didn't know that. So I never
Um,
recalled it. But I
I'll have to
yeah,
look
she
her
was
up.
she played the hockey player's wife in Slapshot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The one who's like really mean. She plays Kay Eddie in All the President's Men. They go to her house and are asking her
Oh,
questions.
right. I remember that now.
Yeah. Okay. So she was in Slapshot, All the President's Men, Places in the Heart, Between the Lines, The Insider, The Indian in the Cupboard, 90s Kids, No, etc. She used to be married to David Mamet also. So
Oh,
she's
there you
Zosha
go.
Mamet's mom. Bishop Brophy is played by Edward Binns. He was also in 12 Angry Men, North by Northwest, Judgment at Nuremberg, Failsafe, Patton, The Americanization of Emily, lots of things. The OB nurse Maureen Rooney, we have met her before. Julie Bovasso, she is the mom in Saturday Night Fever, Tony
Hmm.
Manero's mom. And she's also in Staying Alive. She was also in the movie Daniel, Offbeat, Wise Guys. She's in Moonstruck, Willie and Phil, My Blue Heaven, and she's written and been in a lot of theater as
Yeah, I
well.
think she plays Steve Martin's mom in My Blue Heaven. We'll get to that
Mm.
eventually. So that's
Oh, nice.
it's one of my favorite comedies about the mafia.
Mm. Oh, and another Nora Ephron. Ooh, with Rick Moranis and Joan Cusack. Nice. The victim's sister Sally is played by Roxanne Hart. She was in Highlander, Moonlight Mile, Oh God, You Devil, Pulse, Once Around, Chicago Hope.
I was going to say, I know she was on Chicago Hope because I used to
Mhm.
watch that in addition
Yeah.
to ER. So,
Mm. Her husband Kevin, played by James Handy, he was in K9 and the sequel K911, Arachnophobia, Jumanji, Unbreakable, Logan, Top Gun Maverick, Alias, Profiler. He actually just died like in June because he someone stabbed him.
was he the one? I rem- I
Yes, he
remember
died
hearing
June
about
of
that.
this year in Los
Yeah,
Angeles.
yeah.
Someone stabbed
Someone
him in the
stabbed him.
chest.
Yeah, I didn't know that was him. I remember just reading
Yeah.
about an actor, and I didn't realize it was this guy.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
that
sadly,
sucks.
he was 81. He was on an episode of Criminal Minds too. He was like the old retiring detective who had made a deal with a serial killer. The serial
Uh-huh.
killer was like, if you stop hunting me, I'll stop hunting them. So stop trying to catch me and I will stop killing people.
And did he make
And
the deal?
he did make the deal, but then he was dying. So the deal
Oh,
was up.
up.
Yes. And then
Um,
the team has to catch the serial killer. Dr. Towler, played by Wesley Addy, who's a star of radio and stage. He was in things like Kiss Me Deadly, Whatever Happened to Baby Jane, Tora Tora Tora, The Grissom Gang, Network. Dr. Thompson, the black doctor who was not great at testifying, played by Joe Seneca. He was in Crossroads, not the Britney Spears movie, an earlier movie called Crossroads from 1986. The Blob, The Cosby Show, School Days. He guested on The Golden Girls. I remember his episode of The Golden Girls. He plays Sophia's friend who's got dementia, and she hangs out with him every day. But then, like some days, he like does not remember her, and he's like very angry at her. It's really
Mm,
sad, but he was good. Dr. Gruber, who's the doctor who was supposed to testify for Frank but disappeared, played by Louis J. Stadlin. He was in The Sopranos, Portnoy's Complaint, Serpico, To Be or Not to Be, Windy City, Benson, etc. Joseph Alito, who is the insurance guy who works for the Archdiocese, played by Kent Broadhurst, who's been a painter, but he's
oh,
also had small roles on Law and Order SVU, Brubaker, Silkwood. That's what I remember. I knew I wrote down Silkwood recently.
oh, okay.
The Dark Half. And then lastly, Billy, who is the sort of assistant researcher guy that works for Concannon, played by Colin Stinton, who has been in The Bourne Ultimatum, Doctor Who, Spooks, which is a British television show, Tomorrow Never Dies, Broken News, and lots of stage work. Oh, a lot of work with David Mamet.
Okay.
That's the cast. So we have a few recurring faces here. So a lot of recognizable people for us from all of our other movies, but I think a good cast overall.
Oh, yeah, solid cast. And I'd forgotten about 12 Angry Men that all those people were in that Jack Warden and
Hmm.
the uh the guy that played the bishop.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Which makes sense because Sidney Lumet casted them. Like
right.
Sidney Lumet knew Jack Warden and he wanted James Mason too. So yeah, a good group of people working together. And I think it's interesting to read about like the evolution that the script took and the story and all of this stuff. And I think that they arrived at a pretty good place, at a solid place. You know, we
Hmm.
have I have my quarrels with it. But
But overall, yeah, I still think
yes.
a really good movie to watch. I remember like being surprised at finding out that Laura was the mole
Hmm.
in the and being paid off by
Yeah,
Concannon.
I did not see that coming at all.
No, or that how Frank sort of went from the guy just trying to put some money in his pocket to all of a sudden caring about Deborah and the
Hmm.
family, and then not just trying to get a payoff but trying to get justice.
Hmm. Yeah. And I appreciated that that was like a transition that we didn't like. I feel like some movies, maybe movies today, lesser movies, would be like the person would like give a speech explaining it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just we just see him like on
Yeah.
his face, right? Like take this in, right? He's sitting with this woman, like we said, a young woman, a mother, about she was about to have another kid, like, and her life has been this is what she is now.
Right.
She's like a vegetable, you know? And seeing him like take that in and then going into the next meeting just kind of like determined and different. I think that that's more satisfying than like I think, you know, sometimes like I read a lot from writers and they're like executives want you to be so explicit, but it's like so much better when you can trust the audience that they figure it out instead of having to be like, I am changing right now.
Right. Yeah. Right before your very eyes, I am going through a
Yes.
metamorphosis of some
Right.
sort.
I just want to see it. You know, you don't have to tell me.
And I think that's where a good actor will be able to portray that, where that people
Hmm.
talk about how the camera, loves good actors and so on and so forth. But, somebody that can convey that without saying
Hmm.
anything or just a minimum, or like I said, when the nurse said, you can't be in here, da 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 da, and he goes, but I'm a lawyer. It's
Hmm.
like that. It was like all of a sudden he took that responsibility
Right.
very
This means
seriously.
something.
Yeah, that instead of, well, I'm a lawyer, it's, well,
Right.
I'm a
I
lawyer.
have a responsibility to this person here.
Yes, yeah, I'm trying to help this person, even though
Yeah.
she's beyond help. I'm trying to do the right thing by her.
Right. And you can see that that's so different from the guy who's trying to hustle people at
At
funerals.
funeral, yeah, like spraying the Binaco, and then
Oh my
and
God.
doing the eye drops, man. I'm telling you, between the, I hope he never gets them mixed up.
Right. It
Sprays
reminds
the
me of Wedding Crashers when they start crashing funerals.
exactly,
And he is
yeah,
using, and Will Ferrell's using eye drops.
to make him.
And they
So
also poison Bradley Cooper with eye drops, and he gets sick. So, as you said, don't switch them.
don't switch them. So, but yeah, so like I said, to me, it's one of the better movies, especially about, I guess, a change of heart or whatever you want to call it, or the change of the character, and then it is a feel good ending, and and the fact that you feel that the little person gets justice, and it's
Yeah.
not always the big entity that buys buys
Hmm.
the court off, or the people off, or to to do that they get their comeuppance at the end of it.
Hmm. Hmm.
So, but anyway,
Yeah.
well, I'm glad you
Yeah.
liked it. So, and
Yeah, no, it was good. It was good. So, yeah, everybody check it out. I did have to rent it. Did you have to rent it?
I had to, yeah, same. Yeah, I was looking for options everywhere, and I couldn't find it anywhere except to
Mhm.
rent it through. I guess it was through Prime, Amazon
Yeah.
Prime. Yeah.
I think I
So,
rented it through like my cable, but either way, you
yeah,
probably have to rent it. Maybe you can
yeah,
find it at the library though. It's like 2 hours, solid two
yeah.
hours,
Little
but
over, just a little. Yeah,
yeah, but doesn't
it
drag or
doesn't
anything. I
drag.
think it moves the story forward very quickly.
The
Um,
dialogue's good, the acting's
hmm.
good, the boy, the sets are dreary. I don't know. Some of those, there's a lot of peeling paint, and and
Hmm.
really run down between Frank's apartment and his office.
Yeah,
Although
but
his
I guess they're
office
trying to get the
does,
point across. He's a
he,
mess.
his office did have a nice big window, like one of them
Hmm.
big half moon windows, where I don't know what kind of
Yeah.
view he had, but yeah, but it
But
was,
it's just full of like sacks of paper
oh
everywhere.
my God,
If
yeah.
I were that couple, the sister and the brother-in-law going in there, I'd be like, oh God. Did we pick the right guy?
Yeah, I wonder how we got this guy. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, so yeah, it was to me, it's still worth watching even now when I see it, and I still think it's relevant, and more
Hmm.
so today about the good guy versus the bad guy, or
Yeah.
you know, money doesn't always buy justice.
Hmm.
So,
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you all for listening. Please be sure to subscribe wherever you're listening to this. You can get our episodes delivered to you every Monday when they come out. Please leave a rating, review, or a comment. Hopefully, it's a nice one, or else the judge will have you disbarred and hold you in contempt, and maybe even have you arrested. You can follow us on Instagram at Some of Our Parts Pod. You can see all the movies that we've covered thus far. There is quite a variety. Anything to kind of strike your mood, I'm sure you can find something. You can see little previews of what's to come when we're about to release a new episode, and you can see whatever else we decide to share. And with that, bye bye.
take care.